Welcome to today's episode, the podcast where we discuss the most recent installments of a different series every show. It's Friday, the 28th, the last day of February. We're 2 months into the year, and there's a lot of news actually this week. Did you know that Honora is the dark horse favorite to win the Best Picture?
I actually did. I think it's kind of like has the highest critical reception, I think, out of any of
I remember
the.
seeing the trailer to it, and it's about the girl who ends up with a Russian oligarch or
Yeah.
something, right? And
Well,
the kid is crazy, or his family is crazy.
is that the one that stars Mikey Madison?
It might be. Is that the girl from Bad Times at the Old El Royale?
I think so.
Yes. Okay. Amazon secured the rights of the Bond franchise, which it's been trying to do for a long time.
Wait, so are they going to make like a TV series on
Yeah,
it?
they're going to be extending that one from the Broccoli family. I didn't know that the people who owned the Bond franchise, the creative controllers, were the Broccolis. They've had it since 1962, since the first films. I do feel a little bad though, because they've really held on to those rights, and now Amazon is
Why'd they
going to
give
do
it
what they
up?
did with Lord of the Rings. What?
Why'd they give it up, though?
I think just money, and then I would think maybe in 100 years, so they only have 30-some years left before they lose rights anyways?
Right, public domain.
Maybe.
Yeah.
And then today's viral campaign is an economic boycott. February 28th, no one is supposed to go shopping at big businesses, if you pay attention to any of the social medias, because consumers are supposed to be holding truth to power. So if you're listening to this early enough in the day and you didn't know about this, you're not supposed to go big shopping today, just to show those outlets that they cannot control us.
Is this like an annual thing?
No, I think it's a new thing for this year.
Cannot control us, though, is interesting talking about this. You have any more news?
Yeah, Yankees can't, or Yankees players are allowed to now have beards. What do you think about that?
No, I heard about that.
It's New York
days
oriented,
ago.
and the first Suits was oriented in New York. So let's talk about the first Suits. It ran for 9 seasons on USA.
It was part of the Blue Sky television era, which we talked about kind of last episode.
Can you name all the other shows? White Collar.
There was White Collar, Burn Notice,
Covert
Affairs,
right?
And then Psych.
But this would have been at the tail end, or actually sort of the middle. It started in 2011, went to 2020 or 2021.
2019.
2019.
Yeah.
So they actually finished it up within a smaller amount of 9 seasons.
Part of the character's welcome era. People think that ended around the time that Mr. Robot came out. That whole entire Blue Sky era thing. But yes, the original, it has a 91% on Rotten Tomatoes, 8.4 on IMDb. Huge fan base.
It was set in New York, and the guys are on T-Mobile now. They're the T-Mobile ad dudes. But yeah, it's set in New York. It was about a corporate law firm, a fictional corporate law firm, dealt with a lot of smug lawyers, their personal power struggles, primarily Harvey, his protege Mike, and they're the protagonists. The show made Meghan Markle's career.
Inspired by Entourage.
And Hans Zimmer composed the score of the first season, right? That's what it says on the Wikipedia, at least.
I actually didn't know that. You watched the full first season, though, right?
I think so. I remember mostly the pilot episode, where between that and White Collar, I always compare them to Catch Me If You Can, because it feels like 2 different versions of it. This is about a guy who dropped out of school, but then could finish the bar, and that's how he ended up getting hired. I don't know if he ends up actually becoming a real lawyer, legally by the end of the series, but probably, you'd think.
Right.
LA Suits is a little bit different. It's the spinoff that came out just in this week. It stars a slimmed down version of Stephen Amell, because we last saw him in Heels. He was bulked up for that.
That's the last main role that he was in, yeah.
It's a blonde version of Josh McDermott, Eugene from The Walking Dead. He has a beard now. He looks completely different. He looks more human now than he did in the other one.
I assume he plays more human too, because Eugene is just the most character on The Walking Dead.
It gives me more respect for him as an actor, because he always played the Eugene character so monotoned and annoying.
Nerdy.
And then Maggie Grace from Lost and Taken. She is she's not like one of the top 5 names, but she'll be reoccurring. I think she's a love interest. She's the pro bono lawyer at this firm. And it does deal with a law firm, which our main character, again, played by Stephen Amell, named Ted Black. And the show, the pilot is 43 minutes. The first episode is called 7 Days a Week and Twice on Sunday, because he says that later on in the episode, and we'll get into that. But let me start by saying that I did not enjoy this show. I loved it. I loved this show. Yes.
You loved it.
This did not feel like an episode of television. It felt like the season recap that you see before the finale of a season that just would not end. 43 minutes of constant new emotions and plots, and good and bad, It was
So,
all
but
in there. It was like a Cliff Notes version of an entire season stacked into one 43-minute episode. It was so busy. It was
wait, I'm
very,
so
very busy.
I'm sorry. You love this
So
episode.
the acting, the story, all of the introductions, the bickering between people that we've never met, all really annoying. Like that stuff usually tanks a pilot, and that's
Yeah.
all within the 10 minutes. That I'm thinking, okay, this show is a 4, a 3 out of 10. Like I'm not enjoying this at all, but it doesn't let up. The gas pedal just keeps running through, and they keep on. The pacing is crazy because they just jump to where whatever scene they feel like. They're like, okay, we're going to introduce a betrayal. The next scene is him fighting that betrayal. Like there's not a lot of staring at the camera sad
I saw
that we're
I
so
s
used to seeing in so many
I
shows.
saw the term kitchen sink being
Yeah,
used a lot.
yeah. That's how I would describe it too. But the show doesn't just it just doesn't give a crap. You know the shows like The Pit where it's very busy,
Right.
The Day of the Jackal. It's not like those either. It's not where it's like it needs to be as busy as it is. Had they concentrated more on writing a better story, they could have gone that route. I think that's more how the original Suits went. But instead, they were like, let's all add everything, like you're saying, kitchen sink wise, and just overload. So I want to do a breakdown of the plot. Usually, we like to skim over a lot of the plot, but I want to run through all 43 minutes with you and just see what you think.
Okay, yeah, sure, because I haven't seen the episode at all,
All
so
right, so like it starts off with a backflash of our main character in 2010, right?
right.
He's in New York at this point.
Aaron Kors said, the creator said, you're gonna get 4 or 5 scenes of flashbacks per
They're
episode.
quick flashbacks, but he is at this point our main character, the guy who's saving the cat, who's supposed to be doing something good. He's blackmailing his witness slash friend into testifying against some evil mafia guy, and that's when the witness's house explodes. And our main character wakes up in 2025. And we know that this was just a nightmare that he had. Obviously, it did happen in real life for him, but he describes that this was his nightmare to his dead brother Eddie, who has Down syndrome, who haunts him. And we learn that all. Well, we only learn that he's a ghost at the end of the episode.
Yeah, I thought that was a
It
twist.
wasn't like a super big twist because I think about 30 minutes through, they give away. We see a backflash with him as a kid, and Eddie's there, and it's like, oh, the only way that this works is if that's the brother, and he hasn't aged for that reason. Okay, so Ted then goes to work, right? And he
Yes.
owns the firm, and that's different than Harvey. Harvey, I think, in the first season of Suits, did not own the firm. I don't think he was partner. He was high up.
The show's main kind of difference is that the main characters are lawyers instead of agents.
Well, I mean, there were lawyers in Suits. They were lawyers in Suits. Harvey's definitely a lawyer. We meet a lot of people at the very beginning. There's Erica, there's Rosalind, there's Rick, Amanda. All of them have that swag going. All of them are fired up because it's hectic at the firm. Tomorrow, there's going to be a merger with Ted's ex's law firm. I think her name is Samantha. So we're going to meet even more lawyers. And this is at the point within the 10 minutes, I'm like, this is just too much. There's too much to be keeping track of. I don't like it.
Aaron Kors promised a lot of cameos.
Yeah. So, we'll get to the cameos. So Rick is Ted's right-hand man. He is his Mike to Suits as Harvey. He is supposed to be the protege, the one we're going to be following. He is also like the soul. He has a little bit more of a moral compass than we see Ted having. And once the merger happens, Ted has promised that Mike is going to be the head of entertainment because there's two sides to this law firm. There's the entertainment division, and then there's also the criminal law division.
Right.
And one is owned by Stewart. Stewart is kind of the criminal law guy, and the entertainment one, which is much more poppy, and that's why Ted is in charge of it. Erica, though, is also trying to get the job that Mike is going to get, that head of the entertainment. However, she is, I guess her claws are out further, so he's less likely to give it to her.
Right, and Lex Scott Davis said that her performance was inspired by Jessica Pearson from the original
Yeah,
series.
I didn't like her character at the beginning. By the end, I liked her character, and you'll see why. So the current firm, like I said, had those two divisions, and Stewart is representing this guy named Lester Thompson, and I recognized him from Alias many years earlier. But he's playing, I guess, an actor or someone who's sort of famous who says he didn't kill his girlfriend, but has been caught sort of red-handed killing his girlfriend.
Right.
And so he goes to Ted saying, "You got to be my lawyer." Ted's like, "I'm not the criminal guy. That would be my partner in this firm, Stewart. So you got to trust him." And then we also learn that Ted's father, who was also a big-time lawyer but mixed up in some shady stuff, abandoned Ted and his brother back when he was a kid and actually got the brother killed. that is why Eddie is dead. He tried to make amends with Ted in 2010. We see a backlash of that. But at this point, he's on his deathbed and Ted doesn't want to see him. He basically says, call me when he's dead.
Wow, but
Yeah. So
so has Ted become a lawyer, like, almost to spite his father to be, like, better than his
yeah,
father?
he's offered a job in 2010, and he's like, the only time you ever started loving me again was when you found out that I was a good lawyer or that I passed the bar. And so, yeah, that's how that story works. But Ted and Stuart go to celebrate this merger that's happening. He avoids his father's death and he goes to celebrate, and they are like cheering over and making fun of George Clooney, who's on the table over. We don't actually see George Clooney. The next day, Ted comes into the office. He's feeling good, and it's deserted, except for his protege, Rick. Erica's there later on in the day, and Amanda is there. Amanda is this pro bono attorney who doesn't actually work technically for Ted, but she shares the office with him. So when he starts giving her orders like, where is everybody and all that stuff, she's just like, go screw yourself. And then he's like, $100,000 if you tell me. And she's like, I don't need your money.
Wait, so I'm sorry. So you're saying that there was this big merger, and
Yes.
then Ted the next day
Yeah.
walks in,
Uh-huh.
and he's not getting any answers as to why the place is deserted?
They have to sort of figure it out on the fly. He knows that Stewart betrayed him and that apparently something has gone down. And now all the lawyers that he had been responsible for have gone with Stewart, and all his clients are gone. So that's what he's mostly concerned about is the money. And so he needs those clients back. So he goes into frantic mode and he starts trying to, like, for instance, confront Stewart. He records him, and he records him dissing the lawyers that he stole. And he uses that recording to then bring back those lawyers, you know? And then, yeah. And then he also recruits some new lawyers. He goes to Lester to convince him to leave Stewart. So Lester was the guy who was going to go with Stewart for the criminal defense, but who had originally asked Ted to get involved.
Right.
Ted wants him back. So he gets Lester on his side. He then meets with Samantha, the person, his ex, who was going to be part of the law firm that was coming in, who teamed up with Stewart to betray him.
Right.
And they bond over the fact that his dad's about to die and she knows him from the past. But ultimately, she's just like, yeah, you got screwed by Stewart because you were a dick. Because apparently in a previous thing that we don't see, he had called Stewart out as not being very important to the firm, and Stewart took that personally.
Wait, so one comment is really the reason why Stewart decided
Kind of.
to...
He felt underappreciated, so he decided to just steal the firm out from under him when they did this merger. Stewart reaches out because he's losing some of the lawyers that he stole from Ted, right?
Yeah.
To Erica, the one who wanted the job in the entertainment industry, along with but he was going to give it to Eric, right?
Yeah.
It's difficult because one is named Erica
And one of the other's named Eric, yeah.
No, the other one's named Rick, sorry.
Rick, okay.
Yeah, but they are still pretty similar in names. So Rick is his right-hand man, and Erica's the one who wanted Rick's job to be the entertainment part. He ends up deciding, I'm going to give them both the entertainment job. And so then
How does that work? Is there
well, he goes to Rick first, and he's like, I think you both should split it because she's a very talented attorney. She's threatening to leave otherwise. And Rick is really cool with it. And then Stewart contacts Erica and says, will you be a mole for me? And because Erica doesn't know that she's gotten this promotion yet, it seems like she is going to be the mole. Her assistant, Leah, tries to get a job with Rick because she feels underappreciated as her role. And when he doesn't give her that job, she then goes to her boss sorry, I'm getting mixed up with the names, but she goes to her boss with Erica and she confronts her and she says, I want a bigger job here. And she says, I can only promise you that in 6 months because I'm going to be a mole for Stewart. And Leah takes that information and she goes directly to our main character, Ted, and tells him. Ted runs into Erica's office and says, you're fired. Because he thinks that she's going to be a mole. And then she's like, reverse Uno card. No, I did this all on purpose. Leah was I wanted to see if I could trust her.
Planned.
Yes. And in fact, I'm going to be working for you the whole time. And he's like, I don't believe you. And she's like, well, I'm the one who went through the cause of trying to tell you about this. If I told you about it, you can be sure that Stewart also reached out to Rick. And so he runs over to Rick's office. Rick's gone. Rick's left a note and he says, I used to want to be you, but you've turned, or you become way worse than you were. Like you just treat people like they're
I
commodities.
need to just from, like,
Yeah, yeah,
what
yeah.
you've explained in the past 3 minutes,
Uh-huh.
I can understand what kind of critics are talking about when it says that it had trouble focusing on a narrative.
Oh, it's ADHD plot.
It's just
I don't know who wrote it, but good for them.
'cause, like, I'm still trying to get over the fact that Stuart betrayed Ted,
That's what I
but
mean
now
by
you're
this. That
saying
was a mid-season finale, like plot right
right,
there, right? Like that's the first arc, and then the next season arc would be like, and they have the love interest and everything going on at the same time. So yeah, Rick is gone, and that destroys the whole sensibility of it being like the original Suits too. Harvey and Mike, Rick and Ted, they're
right.
no longer going to be the centerpieces. In fact, now it's going to be Erica who's going to be his protege. And she actually makes a better protege because when he asks her, like, why didn't you betray me? She's like, back in the day when I was hired, I was kind of looked at as a diversity hire, but I remember overhearing you say something like, let's just throw her into the water and see if she floats, and I believe that she will. And something along the title of the episode, which is like every day, 7 weeks on blah blah blah.
Yeah.
The fact that he would put his support into her at any time, and she took that and she ran with it. So that's oh yeah, and then he goes and visits his dad with a private jet. And he kind of tells his dad, fuck you, like you were a terrible father. I'm not going to be here while you actually die. And then he gets on out of
Wait,
there.
so he decided to actually visit, but he didn't wait for
Yeah,
his dad to
it's the
die.
final like fuck you, and then he leaves, and then he goes talks to his dead brother again. That's where we get the final reveal that the guy
Oh,
is in fact.
is this at, like, a grave?
No, 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 no. He's still talking to him at his house. He just like hangs out on his couch, and the brother's just behind him. I do want that to continue all season. It makes no sense why he needs to have this character trait, but he has it. We didn't even talk about the fact that John Amos is just there as an actor,
Yeah,
just one
okay,
of the
so
clients.
he was in the pilot. Yeah, this was his final acting role.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
I
He's still alive though, right?
no, he died back in
Oh
August of,
no.
I think, 2024, and this got picked up in July. So and they said that there was a chance he was going to be a recurring
I'm gonna
character,
bump my rating up a point 0.5 just for that.
but yeah,
Not the fact that he passed away, but just for the fact that this is pretty cool. That's
yeah,
pretty cool
he
that he
was
was able
supposed
to
to
be
be a
in this.
recurring character, and I think just from everything I'm reading, they barely, like, they just got him in the episode, before he passed.
So he's only gonna be in the pilot.
I think so, I
That's
believe.
strange because they did set him up to be like sort of another moral compass dispensing life advice.
He's definitely not in it as much as he was supposed to be.
At the very beginning, he meets with Rick, again, the right hand man. And he's like, I need to get a job. I'm 84 years old and I still want to act or something like that. And he's like, I don't know, man. And then I'll talk to Ted about it. And then by the end, Ted had, I think, reached out to get him a job. So that I guess that's a nice send off. So yeah, what do you think? Just based on the insane amount, I didn't even get into the backflash where he asked the doctor to pretend that someone's alive for an extra day.
Wait, what?
Um,
Why?
because the witness dude who exploded in the first scene, right?
Yeah.
He was in the hospital. They were going to try to still get him to speak. And if it comes out that the mafia boss had managed to kill this guy, I think that his case is dead. Ted's case from 2010 is no longer good. And so he needs the guy to pretend to be alive so that he can use that time to, I don't know, maneuver some other thing that you'll see in the next episode. It's so wild and insane. It starts off like The Lincoln Lawyer or She-Hulk or Sugar or Bull, all these regular lawyer shows, but it's like it doesn't let up ever.
Stephen Amell said that it was a cross between Entourage, almost Entourage meets Mad Men.
Yeah, those are
But
better shows. Those are both better shows. My favorite part, I think, is when he gets a phone call and it's the ER soundtrack on his phone. And nice job, NBC. I'm just saying. That is pretty funny. And
because it was NBC, they had to limit the goddams, which apparently was like a trademark for the original show. But
huh,
because it moved from USA to NBC, they were like, you have to cut a
he
lot of
also
these
makes a
out.
really bad reference at one point where he's like, who would you rather have? This is when he's trying to convince Lester to come back to his side. He was like, who would you rather have in the Super Bowl, Kirk Cousins or Patrick Mahomes? So they must have shot this before the last Super Bowl. Yeah, so minute to 10, I would have given this a 3.5. By minute 20, it was up to a 5 for me. And then by 30, like 30 minutes in, I had run out of note space.
Yeah.
And I started to realize how special this thing was. And I was really enjoying just the last like 10
Add the
minutes watching.
0.5 because, again, of John Amos. And what do you give this thing?
Overall, the 0.5, I'm going to give it an 8. Originally, it was going to be a 7.5, but I'll give this pilot an 8. Not the whole show. I don't expect the identity of this show to be capable of cramming so much into its future episodes, but for this one single, like, just, I'm going to think about this in future years and be like, yeah, sometimes they can just, it's 43 minutes.
Yeah.
We've seen pilots where, like, a character is just solemnly stuck in a depression for 30 minutes and we're watching paint dry.
Yep.
This is the opposite of that. Yeah.
So the series is going to be 10 episodes. It's the second spinoff because the first was called Pearson, which ran for 1 season back in 2019 and aired alongside Suits' final season. And then there was even a Japanese television drama of the same name that ran for 2 seasons, I think back in like 2016. Overall, though...
Sorry, can you say that again? The Japanese?
Yeah, there was a Japanese television drama that ran for 2 seasons.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's like a K-drama, but like Japanese version
Of the same name. Yeah, no, it was based off of this one. And then it's inspired by Ted Shervin. That's actually why the main character's name is Ted, because he was a CAA agent and former ICM partner and managing director. He was a federal prosecutor in New York, and after graduating from Harvard Law at the age of 29, Shervin quit, moved to LA, and used his skills to become a successful talent agent.
He sounds like a car salesman in the show. Like, everybody is a car salesman. They start off the show with him going in and doing this act with one of the actresses who was thinking about leaving the firm. And then he has Rick walk in there and say, man, you can't be the one to, like, pull out of this contract. And he's like, if you don't sign this by the time I'm out into my office, then you're dead to me.
Well, the original pilot was even supposed to be called Ted and wasn't even placed in the Suits universe.
So it was like Bull, basically.
Yeah. And Turk and JD were based on Bill Lawrence and Ted Shervin because as both were roommates in college, Bill Lawrence...
You mean, reverse that. You said Turk and JD were based on...
Sorry, yeah. Bill Lawrence and Ted Shervin were like... Bill Lawrence wrote Turk and JD because of his relationship with Ted Shervin because they were both
for
roommates.
real. So no, you said it right the first
in
time.
college. Yeah, and then so Aaron Korsh, he became fascinated with him, wrote the pilot Ted in 2019, a fictionalized version of Ted Shervin's career being a prosecutor trying to escape from the mob when he moved to LA. And then he like pitched it to a ton of places and they said no. And then he pitched it to NBC Universal. Coincidentally, the executive who read the script, Alex Scipio, who oversaw development of the original Suits, said it was too similar.
I would say this is inspired maybe by that guy, but this is certainly not anybody's real life. This is so fake.
Well, yeah, no, because again, they were not going to pick it up. It seemed like that was the end of the story, but then Suits hits Netflix in 2023, breaks The Office's record as the most streamed show over the course of a year with 57.7 billion minutes viewed, the highest year-end total Nielsen had ever recorded, and then 5 years later it gets picked up and they decided to do this. However, it's been lambasted by critics and audiences alike. 6.1 on IMDb, 36% on Rotten Tomatoes. The Guardian said, Suits LA Review glossy legal spinoff is an unsexy disappointment, giving the show 2 out of 5 stars.
Yeah, but I don't watch a show and think, how sexy is this show? Well, I'm not in that way, though. Okay.
But like, I think a lot of people have a problem with just that it's focusing kind of on the filmmaking industry when Suits was like a lot more.
That is one of my things. There was 10 seconds of lawyering in this entire episode, and it's when Lester was in front of the judge, and in this weird circumstance, Ted walks in and kind of like fires Stewart from being his lawyer on the spot, and that was it. That was the entire Suits, or I guess, yeah, that was the entire lawyer part of the show.
And then, yeah, well, also, I mean, like, Suits is dealing with, like, investment firms and kind of, like, talking a lot, and it's supposed to be really snappy dialogue, but here it just seems like
it's snappy, it's quick, but it's not necessarily good.
Variety said that the pilot was lumpy and confounding with grating, jarring camera angles and a bizarre twist.
Confounding is that works to its advantage because so many shows follow the same,
okay, so
dedicated formula.
I feel like you rated an 8 out of 10, and I feel like it's kind of my view of how I see Joker 2. Where Joker 2, I think
it's not that bad.
No, let me explain. Joker Folie à Deux is a terrible movie. I think that the movie is awful.
But it was made with the
intent. So I have so much respect for Todd Phillips because he really did not want to make a Joker movie that he decided to make like one of the worst movies here. sure.
You respect.
I understand you're saying that Suits LA is like you actually find enjoyment in it, but like you also realize it seems like it's not a great
Do you
show.
remember? Well, I don't even want to judge it too quickly, though. I think what it did was pretty phenomenal in the fact that, like, if you remember the Children's Hospital where they make the joke about previously on and then it just doesn't seem to end,
Yeah.
like, there's just so much drama and stuff like that. That's what this felt like. But with a soap opera, what do you kind of want to do after a while is you want to skip over the scenes because they take forever and the people are just confessing their love
And
or
they're
who's
not
been
really talking
betrayed.
about anything. Yeah, like
Yeah,
that seems that
like there's
important.
crazy stuff that's happening, but
Yeah.
it's so slow. In this, it was like as soon as they got their point out, cut to the next scene. And that made it like compelling almost to watch it after a while. And like I said, by the end, I don't feel like I'm close to any of these characters. And so I will take most of the criticism that it's getting and say, yes, that's probably well deserved. But for a pilot, you're not going to find too many other ones like this. So that's where I find its uniqueness makes it worth the watch.
The fans hate it. 31%
Oh, yeah. I should
audience
also
score.
say that I haven't watched the full Suits thing. So if I was like a huge Suits fan and this was supposed to be
That's
its
what they were
legacy,
thinking. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's probably bad.
And there's also just been articles like Suits spin-off series let down fans as the Call pilot episode dull, and Suits spin-off branded train wreck by unimpressed viewers after series premiere. I know that you said that you don't think that the show is going to be able to keep up kind of this pacing, but are you going to check in on the show ever
I
again?
feel like I saw the entire episode. Like, I feel like this episode was the first season. I don't know how they're going to make episode 2. So maybe because I'm curious, but like at the same time, that's what's so special about this is I felt like I watched an entire season of a show in 43 minutes. It's pretty cool. Everybody should check it out. And
Yeah.
even if you hate it in the first 10 minutes, bear with it because you'll start laughing.
I'll end it by saying this. The network wanted one original member to come back, and the original member did not want to come back, but did it for fans, and it's supposed to be a recurring character.
I think everybody knows who it is. It's Harvey. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll just say that. All right. Thanks for listening. We'll see you on the next episode. Hope you enjoyed this one. Bye.
Bye.